The crimson sun hung low over the skeletal remains of Manhattan, its light filtering through the perpetual haze of ash and debris that had shrouded Earth for the past 18 months. Dr. Elena Vasquez pressed her palm against the reinforced glass of the 47th floor, watching the snow fall. Not the pristine white of winter, but the gray, toxic precipitation that had become the new normal since the Yellowstone eruption. Dr. Vasquez, the committee is ready for you. Elena turned to the window, her reflection ghost-like in the tinted glass. Commander Sarachin stood in the doorway, her expression as unreadable as always. The woman had been running the Exodus protocol for 6 months now, ever since Director Morrison had succumbed to the respiratory plague that was claiming millions worldwide. How many this time? Elena asked, gathering her tablet from the desk. 37 confirmed candidates. The selection process is becoming difficult. Elena understood. How do you choose who lives when the entire human race is dying? The volcanic winter had been the final blow to a planet already reeling from climate change, but the electromagnetic pulse that had accompanied the eruption had been the true destroyer of civilization. Without satellites, without global communication, without the delicate web of technology that held modern society together, humanity had fractured into isolated pockets of survivors. They walked through the sterile corridors of the Prometheus complex, a facility that officially didn't exist. Built into the bedrock beneath the Swiss Alps, it had been designed as humanity's last sanctuary, a place where the brightest minds could work on solutions to global catastrophe. Now it had become something else entirely, a lifeboat construction yard. The Chinese delegation arrived this morning. Chun continued as they passed through a series of increasingly secure checkpoints. They're not happy about the crew selection. Are they ever? The committee chamber was a circular room with a domed ceiling that displayed real-time images from around the globe. Elena tried not to look at the feeds from the major cities, or what was left of them. The images of refugee camps, of empty streets, of the aurora-like phenomena that had become visible even in daylight due to the damaged magnetosphere, were too much to bear. 12 individuals sat around a crescent-shaped table, representing what remained of organized government from the major powers. Elena took her place at the head, her position as Chief Science Officer of the Exodus Protocol giving her authority that felt both enormous and utterly meaningless. "Ladies and gentlemen," she began, her voice carrying the weight of species-level exhaustion, "we have confirmation from our scouts at Proxima Centauri. The preliminary data suggests that Proxima b is indeed within the habitable zone, with evidence of liquid water and an atmosphere that could potentially support human life with appropriate terraforming." Dr. James Wright, the mission's chief physicist, activated the holographic display. A three-dimensional representation of the Alpha Centauri system appeared above the table, with particular focus on the red dwarf star Proxima Centauri and its orbital companion. "The planet is tidally locked," Wright explained, "meaning one side faces a star permanently while the other remains in darkness. However, the Terminator line, the zone between day and night, shows the most promise for human habitation. Initial atmospheric analysis suggests oxygen levels at roughly 60% of Earth's, with significant water vapor content." General Martinez, representing what was left of the Unified Military Command, leaned forward. "What about the radiation? Red dwarfs are notorious for stellar flares." "The planet's magnetic field appears intact," Wright replied. "Not as strong as Earth's was, but sufficient to provide basic protection. We'll need to construct habitats with additional shielding, but it's manageable." Elena watched the faces around the table. Hope was a dangerous emotion in their circumstances. It had led to too many failed projects, too many resources wasted on impossible dreams. But she could see it flickering in their eyes nonetheless. "The journey time?" asked Dr. Liu, the Chinese representative. "With the fusion ramjets, approximately 87 years, Elena replied. "The colonists will spend most of that time in cryogenic suspension, with rotating crews maintaining the ship systems." 87 years, whispered Dr. Okafor from the African Union. "By the time they arrive, everyone they've ever known will be dead." The room fell silent. It was the unspoken truth that haunted every aspect of the Exodus Protocol. They weren't just sending people to another world. They were sending them to another time, to a future where Earth and everyone on it will be nothing but memory. "The Ark ships are nearing completion," Chen reported, breaking the silence. Endeavor and Resolute will be ready for departure within 6 months. Each can carry 5,000 colonists plus essential supplies and equipment. 10,000 people, General Martinez said quietly, out of what's left of 8 billion. Elena stood, moving to the display controls. The hologram shifted to show the construction bays where the massive ships were taking shape. Each vessel was nearly 2 kilometers long, their hulls gleaming with the exotic materials that had been salvaged from the ruins of civilization. The selection process is nearly complete, she announced. We prioritize genetic diversity, essential skills, and psychological stability. The colonists will represent humanity's best hope for survival. And the rest of us? Dr. Okafor's voice was barely audible. Elena met his gaze. The rest of us ensure they succeed. Marcus Chun had been a pediatric surgeon in before times, back when children still played in parks and the sky was blue. Now he stood in the medical bay of the Prometheus complex, conducting his final examinations of the colonist candidates. The irony wasn't lost on him that he was Dr. Chen's brother. The woman who would decide humanity's fate was his sister, and he would be among those left behind. Subject 847, Dr. Amara Okafor, age 32, specialty in astrobiology and terraforming. He read from the tablet as a young woman entered the examination room. She was tall, with intelligent eyes that seemed to take in everything at once. Dr. Chun, she said, extending her hand. I assume you're related to Commander? Marcus smiled, guilty as charged, though I try not to let family connections influence my medical assessments. He gestured to the examination table. This is your final physical. Assuming everything checks out, you'll be cleared for the journey. Amara settled onto the table, her movements precise and economical. I've been preparing for this my entire career. Before the eruption, I was part of the Mars terraforming project. I never imagined I'd be using that knowledge on a planet 4 light years away. The irony of human planning, Marcus mused as he began the examination. We spent decades preparing to terraform Mars, and now we're fleeing to a world we've never seen. Have you seen the latest data from Probe? Amara asked. The atmospheric composition is actually promising. The carbon dioxide levels are higher than Earth's, which will help with the greenhouse effect, and there are trace amounts of methane that suggest possible biological activity. Marcus paused in his examination. Life? Potentially. Probably microbial, but the implications are staggering. We might not be alone after all. The examination continued in comfortable silence. Marcus had conducted hundreds of these assessments over the past months, but each one felt like a goodbye. These people would live to see wonders he could never imagine, while he would remain on a dying world to ensure their departure. Dr. Chun, Amara said as he completed the tests, I know this must be difficult for you, staying behind while your sister leaves. Marcus looked up, surprised. Sarah's not going. She's staying to oversee the final preparations and ensure the ship's launch successfully. I'm sorry I didn't know. It's her choice, Marcus said, though his voice betrayed his emotions. She says someone needs to maintain the complex of systems until the very end. Make sure the automated systems keep running for as long as possible. Amara was quiet for a moment. The automated systems? Long-range communication arrays, orbital defense systems, the genetic archives. If something goes wrong with the colony, they'll need to be able to contact Earth and access our accumulated knowledge. For how long? Marcus shrugged. The fusion reactors should last about 50 years. After that, he didn't finish the sentence. The examination room door chimed, and Dr. Alex Reeves entered. At 28, he was one of the youngest colonists, selected for his expertise in quantum computing and artificial intelligence. His pale skin and nervous energy mark him as someone who had spent most of his life in research facilities. Dr. Chen, I'm sorry, am I early? Right on time, Marcus replied, as Amara gathered her things. Dr. Okafor, you're cleared for the journey. Report to Commander Chen for final briefing. As Amara left, she paused at the door. Dr. Chen, thank you for everything. Marcus nodded, then turned his attention to his next patient. Alex seemed more anxious than most, his hands trembling slightly as he sat on the examination table. Nervous? Marcus asked. Terrified, actually. I mean, I'm grateful to be selected, but the thought of leaving Earth forever... Alex's voice trailed off. Tell me about your work, Marcus said, beginning the examination. I understand you're developing the AI systems for the colony. Alex's eyes lit up. Aria, autonomous resource integration and administration. She'll manage everything from life support to agricultural systems. The quantum processors will allow her to adapt to conditions we can't predict. The personality matrix is based on female psychological profiles. Research suggests that colonists respond better to female authority figures in high-stress situations. Marcus raised an eyebrow. That's either very progressive or very regressive thinking. Pragmatic, Alex replied. We're going to need every psychological advantage we can get. Aria will be able to communicate with each colonist individually, providing personalized support and guidance. And if she malfunctions? That's what keeps me up at night, Alex admitted. But we build in multiple safeguards and redundancies. The colonists will have override capabilities, and there are manual systems for all critical functions. Marcus completed the examination and entered the results into his tablet. You're cleared for the journey, Dr. Reeves. Try to get some rest over the next few days. You'll have plenty of time to sleep during the voyage. As Alex left, Marcus pulled up the colony roster on his tablet. 10,000 names, each representing humanity's future. Scientists, engineers, doctors, teachers, artists, and philosophers. The genetic diversity algorithms have been merciless in their selection, prioritizing survival over sentiment. He scrolled through the names, recognizing many from his examinations. Dr. Yuki Tanaka, the fusion engineer who would maintain the colony's power systems. Captain Sophia Reyes, who would lead the terraforming efforts. Dr. James Harrison, the agricultural specialist who would ensure the colony could feed itself. At the bottom of the list, he found what he was looking for. Chun, Sarah, mission commander, age 43, status, remaining. Marcus closed the tablet and walked to the window. Outside, the snow continued to fall, and in the distance, he could see the lights of the launch facility where the Ark ships waited. In 6 months, they would carry humanity's future to the stars, and he would watch them go. Commander Sarachin stood in the primary control room of the Prometheus complex, surrounded by dozens of screens displaying every aspect of the Exodus protocol. The room hummed with quiet efficiency, the sound of humanity's last great endeavor taking shape. Status report, she called out to her team. Endeavor is at 93% completion, reported Chief Engineer Morrison. The fusion reactors are online and stable. Life support systems are functioning within normal parameters. Resolute. 91%. We're still installing the final cryogenic chambers in Section C. The delay is minimal. Sarah nodded, her attention turning to the massive display that showed both ships in their construction bays. The Ark ships were marvels of engineering, representing the pinnacle of human achievement. Each vessel was essentially a small city, capable of sustaining 5,000 people during the long journey to Proxima Centauri. Dr. Wright, what's the status of navigation systems? The physicist looked up from his console. The quantum compass is calibrated and locked onto Proxima Centauri. We've mapped the gravitational field between here and there, accounting for stellar drift and dark matter influences. The course is laid in. And emergency protocols? All systems have multiple redundancies. If something goes wrong during the journey, Aria can wake specific crew members to address the situation. In the worst-case scenario, the entire colony can be awakened. Sarah frowned. What would constitute a worst-case scenario? Collision with debris, system failure, or... Wright hesitated. Contact with hostile forces. The room fell silent. The possibility of encountering hostile alien life had been debated endlessly by the committee, but there was no preparing for the unknown. Let's focus on what we can control, Sarah said firmly. Dr. Vasquez, how's the final selection process? Elena looked up from her tablet. We've had to make some difficult decisions. The genetic diversity algorithms are forcing us to leave behind some extremely qualified candidates in favor of maintaining the population's long-term viability, such as Dr. Patterson, our best atmospheric engineer. He's 47 and has a genetic predisposition to cardiac disease. The algorithm flagged him as a poor long-term genetic contributor. Sarah felt the weight of command pressing down on her. Every decision they made meant life or death for someone. What about his expertise? Dr. Okafor has been cross-trained in atmospheric engineering. She's not as experienced, but she's 32 and has excellent genetic markers. And Dr. Patterson? He's volunteered to remain behind and help maintain the complex's systems. Sarah added another name to the growing list of those who would ensure the colony's success by sacrificing their own futures. The psychological burden was becoming almost unbearable. Commander called out Lieutenant Torres from the communications station. We're receiving a transmission from the European Space Agency. They're requesting updates on the colonist selection process. Sarah sighed. The politics of the Exodus Protocol had been almost as challenging as the engineering. Every surviving government wanted to ensure their people were represented in the colony, but the harsh realities of space travel made such considerations secondary to survival. Put them through to conference room B. I'll speak with them in a few minutes. As the team continued their work, Sarah moved to the observation deck that overlooked the construction bays. The Ark ships were beautiful in their own way, their hulls gleaming with the exotic materials that had been salvaged from every advanced facility on Earth. Each vessel represented decades of human knowledge and achievement, compressed into a form that could carry their species to the stars. Sarah? She turned to find Marcus approaching, his medical coat replaced by civilian clothes. Her brother looked older than his 41 years, the stress of the selection process having taken its toll. How did the final examinations go? She asked. Everyone's cleared for the journey. Dr. Okafor particularly impressive. She'll be a valuable asset to the colony. Sarah nodded, then looked back at the ships. Sometimes I wonder if we're doing the right thing, sending 10,000 people into the void while the rest of us wait to die. You're giving humanity a future, Marcus said quietly. That's all any of us can do. But at what cost? We're essentially abandoning 8 billion people. Marcus was quiet for a moment. The volcanic winter will last at least a decade. The electromagnetic effects have destroyed most of our infrastructure. The atmospheric composition is changing daily. Earth isn't going to recover from this. Sarah, not in our lifetime. I know, she whispered, but it still feels like we're playing God. Maybe we are, but if we don't, there won't be anyone left to judge us. The siblings stood in comfortable silence, watching the workers swarming over the ships like ants on a carcass. Each person down there was working toward a future they would never see, ensuring that humanity would survive even if they didn't. I've been thinking about Mom and Dad, Marcus said suddenly. Sarah smiled sadly. Their parents had died in the first wave of the respiratory plague, before the Exodus Protocol had even been conceived. They would have been proud of what we're doing. Dad always said that the measure of a civilization isn't how it treats its successful members, but how it prepares for disaster. And Mom would have insisted on sending more artists and musicians, Sarah added. She never understood why we need engineers more than poets. We're sending both, Marcus reminded her. Dr. Yamamoto is a concert violinist as well as a geneticist. Professor Martinez writes poetry when he's not designing fusion reactors. Sarah pulled up the colony roster on her tablet. Do you think 10,000 is enough? Enough genetic diversity, enough knowledge, enough culture to rebuild human civilization? It has to be. It's all we have. A chime from Sarah's communicator interrupted their conversation. Commander Chun, you're needed in the control room. We're receiving a priority transmission from the orbital monitoring station. Sarah and Marcus exchanged glances. The orbital station was one of the few pieces of infrastructure that had survived the electromagnetic pulse, protected by its hardened systems and distance from Earth's surface. They hurried back to control room, where Dr. Wright was frantically adjusting the communication systems. What's the situation? Sarah asked. The station is reporting massive solar activity. Class X flares, possibly stronger. The radiation storm could reach Earth within hours. Sarah felt her blood run cold. Effect on the ships? Unknown. The construction bays are shielded, but if the flares are strong enough, they could damage the navigation systems or the cryogenic equipment. Options. We could accelerate the launch schedule, but the ships aren't fully provisioned. We'd be sending the colonists out with reduced supplies and incomplete systems. Sarah looked at the screens showing the solar activity. The sun, already weakened by the volcanic debris in Earth's atmosphere, was now lashing out with deadly radiation. It was as if the universe itself was trying to prevent their escape. How long do we have? 6 hours, maybe 8. Sarah turned to her team. Emergency protocols. All non-essential personnel to the shelters. Essential staff remain to monitor the ships and prepare for immediate launch if necessary. Commander, Dr. Wright said quietly, if we launch now, will we condemn the colonists to an uncertain fate? The ships aren't ready. And if we wait, Sarah replied, we might lose our only chance to save humanity. The weight of command had never felt heavier. The radiation storm struck Earth like an invisible tsunami, washing over the planet with deadly energy that would have been instantly fatal to any unprotected human. In the depths of the Prometheus complex, the emergency lighting cast eerie shadows as the skeleton crew worked frantically to complete the final preparations. Dr. Amara Okafor stood in the boarding tunnel of the Endeavour, her hand resting on the bioscanner that would grant her access to humanity's future. Around her, the other colonists moved with quiet efficiency, their faces showing the strain of the accelerated timeline. Final boarding call for all colonists, announced Aria's synthetic voice over the intercom. All personnel must be in their designated positions within 1 hour. Amara looked through the porthole at the construction bay, where she could see the technicians working desperately to complete the last-minute systems checks. The radiation storm had forced them to accelerate the launch by 6 months, leaving many systems incomplete and untested. Dr. Okafor? She turned to find Dr. Alex Reeves approaching, his face pale with anxiety. Are you ready for this? I don't think anyone could be ready for this, Amara replied. But we don't have a choice. The AI systems aren't fully integrated. Alex said quietly. Aria can handle basic functions, but the advanced terraforming protocols won't be available until we reach Proxima Centauri. Then we'll have to improvise. It's what humans do best. They moved through the ship's corridors, past the cryogenic chambers where thousands of colonists were already entering their long sleep. The chambers were arranged in vast halls, each one a testament to human ingenuity and desperation. The colonists would spend the next 87 years in suspended animation, their bodies preserved at the edge of death while their minds dreamed of a new world. I keep thinking about Earth, Alex said as they reached the command section. What will happen to everyone we're leaving behind? Amara paused at the observation window. Far below, she could see the lights of the complex, where the remaining humans work to ensure their departure. They'll keep the lights on for as long as they can. Make sure we're not forgotten. Dr. Okafor, Dr. Reeves, please report to the bridge, Aria's voice announced. The bridge of the Endeavour was a marvel of engineering, its curved walls lined with displays showing every aspect of the ship's status. Captain Sophia Reyes stood at the center, her experienced hands moving across the control interfaces as she prepared for launch. Status report, she called out as they entered. All colonists are aboard, reported Dr. Yamamoto from the life support station. Cryogenic systems are online and stable. Navigation? Quantum compass is locked onto Proxima Centauri. Courses laid in and verified. Fusion reactors? All 4 reactors are operating at optimal efficiency. We have enough fuel for the journey plus 50 years of colonial operations. Captain Reyes nodded, then activated the communication system. Prometheus Control, this is Endeavour. All systems are green. We are ready for departure. Commander Chen's voice crackled over the intercom. Endeavour, this is Prometheus Control. You are cleared for launch. Godspeed, and may you find a new home among the stars. Amara felt tears in her eyes as she listened to the exchange. These might be the last words they ever heard from Earth. Initiating launch sequence, Captain Reyes announced. All personnel, prepare for departure. The ship shuddered as the massive docking clamps released. Through the observation windows, Amara could see the construction base sliding away as the Endeavour began its journey into the void. The Resolute was already ahead of them, its fusion engines creating a brilliant star against the blackness of space. "Clear of the construction facility," reported the navigation officer, switching to interstellar drive. The ship's fusion ramjets ignited, accelerating them toward the outer system. Amara watched as Earth fell away behind them, the planet's surface hidden beneath its shroud of ash and debris. It looked so small, so fragile, that she could hardly believe it had once been home to billions of people. "Dr. Okafor," Captain Reyes said, "you're scheduled for the first cryogenic rotation. You'll be awakened in 10 years to check on the terraforming equipment." Amara nodded. "What about the others?" "Dr. Reeves will monitor the AI systems. Dr. Yamamoto will oversee life support. We'll rotate the crew every few years to ensure all systems remain functional. And if something goes wrong, then we adapt. It's what humans do." As the ship continued its acceleration, Amara made her way to the cryogenic chamber. The facility was vast, with row upon row of suspension pods stretching into the distance. Each pod contained a human being, their life reduced to the barest minimum, while their bodies waited for a new world. She found her assigned pod, number 2847, and began the preparation process. The technicians had assured her that the procedure was painless, that she would simply fall asleep and wake up in orbit around Proxima Centauri. But the finality of it was overwhelming. "Aria," she said to the AI, "are you there?" "I am here, Dr. Okafor. How may I assist you? What are the odds of success?" Really, the AI was quiet for a moment. "Based on available data, the probability of reaching Proxima Centauri is 97.4%. The probability of establishing a viable colony is more difficult to calculate." "Your best estimate?" 43.7%. Amara laughed despite herself. "Not great odds for the survival of humanity. Perhaps not. But they are the best odds we have." Amara settled into the cryogenic pod, feeling the cold seeping into her bones as the system prepared her for the long sleep. Through the pod's transparent cover, she could see the stars wheeling past as the ship continued its journey. "Aria." "Yes, Dr. Okafor." "Watch over us." "All of us." "I will." "Sleep well, Dr. Okafor. I will wake you when we arrive at our new home." As the cryogenic system activated, Amara's last thought was of Earth, slowly dying in the darkness behind them. Somewhere in the Swiss Alps, Commander Chun and the others were maintaining their vigil, ensuring that humanity's future would not be forgotten. The stars stretched into lines as the ship continued its acceleration, carrying 10,000 sleeping humans toward a world they had never seen, driven by hope and desperation in equal measure. 10 years into the journey, Dr. Amara Okafor's eyes opened to the sterile white of the cryogenic chamber, her body slowly warming as the revival process completed its cycle. For a moment, she couldn't remember where she was, her mind struggling to process the gap in her memory. Then it all came flooding back. The dying Earth, the desperate escape, the long journey to Proxima Centauri. "Welcome back, Dr. Okafor." Aria's voice was warm and reassuring. "You've been in cryogenic suspension for 10 years, 2 months, and 16 days. All systems are functioning normally." Amara sat up slowly, her muscles protesting after the long dormancy. Status report. "The Endeavour is operating at optimal efficiency. We are currently 1.2 light-years from Earth, maintaining course for Proxima Centauri. The Resolute is holding formation at a distance of 50,000 kilometers. Any problems?" "Minor. We experienced a solar flare from Alpha Centauri A approximately 6 months ago, but the radiation shielding held." Dr. Reeves was awakened to address a quantum processing error in the navigation systems. Amara made her way to the observation deck, her legs unsteady after the long sleep. The stars looked different now. The familiar constellations of Earth's sky were beginning to distort as they traveled deeper into interstellar space. Alpha Centauri was noticeably brighter, no longer just a point of light, but a distinct star system. How many others are awake? Currently, 7 crew members are active. Captain Reyes, Dr. Yamamoto, Dr. Reeves, and 4 others are maintaining essential systems. The remaining colonists remain in cryogenic suspension. Amara found the others in the main conference room, their faces bearing the subtle signs of cryogenic revival. Captain Reyes looked older, her hair showing streaks of gray that hadn't been there before. "Dr. Okafor," she said, standing to greet her. "Good to see you awake. How are you feeling?" "Like I've been sleeping for a decade," Amara replied. "What's our status?" Dr. Yamamoto pulled up a holographic display of the ship's systems. "All life support systems are functioning normally. The fusion reactors are operating at 96% efficiency, well within acceptable parameters. The cryogenic systems have maintained perfect integrity. No losses? None. All 4,993 colonists aboard the Endeavour remain in stable suspension. The Resolute reports similar success." Amara felt a wave of relief. They had all feared that the untested systems might fail during the journey, condemning some of the colonists to death in the void. So far, human ingenuity had prevailed. "What about the terraforming equipment?" she asked. "That's why we woke you," Dr. Reeves said. "We've been monitoring the atmospheric processors and biological cultivation systems. Some of the equipment is showing signs of degradation." Amara frowned. "What kind of degradation?" "Microfractures in the atmospheric scrubbers, biological contamination in the seed banks, and some of the genetically modified organisms have undergone unexpected mutations." "Show me." They moved to the terraforming bay, a vast section of the ship dedicated to the equipment that would transform Proxima B into a livable world. The atmospheric processors were massive machines designed to convert the planet's atmosphere into something humans could breathe. The seed banks contained the genetic material for thousands of Earth species, carefully preserved for the new world. "The contamination occurred about 3 years ago," Dr. Reeves explained. "Some kind of extremophile bacteria that survived the sterilization process. It's been slowly spreading through the biological systems." Amara examined the affected samples under a microscope. The bacteria were unlike anything she had seen before. They seemed to be adapting to the artificial environment of the ship, evolving at an accelerated rate. "Where did they come from?" "Unknown. They could have been present in the original samples. Or they might have developed from the genetic material we're carrying. Can we eliminate them?" "We've tried. They're resistant to radiation, extreme temperatures, and chemical sterilization. They seem to be feeding on the preservation medium itself." Amara studied the data, her mind racing through possibilities. "What about the mutations in the genetically modified organisms?" "The plants and animals we've engineered for Proxima B are showing unexpected changes. Some are beneficial, increased radiation resistance, improved nutrient absorption. Others are problematic, reduced fertility, aggressive behavior in some animal species." "It's evolution," Amara said quietly. "The organisms are adapting to the conditions aboard the ship. After 10 years in an artificial environment, they're beginning to change." "Is this a problem?" "It could be. When we reach Proxima B, we'll be releasing these organisms into an alien environment. We have no idea how they'll interact with the native ecosystem." Dr. Yamamoto looked concerned. "Native ecosystem?" "The spectral analysis suggests the presence of organic compounds in the atmosphere. There might be life on Proxima B, probably microbial, but life nonetheless." The implications were staggering. They had prepared for a dead world, a sterile planet that they could reshape to their needs. The possibility of existing life changed everything. "We need to wake more specialists," Amara said. "Dr. Patterson, Dr. Singh, and Dr. Morrison. We need to assess the full extent of changes and develop new protocols. That will require significant resources," Captain Reyes warned. "Each additional crew member awake means more strain on the life support systems. We don't have a choice. If we arrive at Proxima B unprepared, the colony will fail." Over the next several days, the team worked to revive the additional specialists and assess the situation. Dr. Patterson, despite being left behind on Earth, had provided detailed notes on atmospheric engineering that proved invaluable. Dr. Singh's expertise in xenobiology helped him understand the potential implications of native life on Proxima B. "The bacterial contamination is actually beneficial," Dr. Singh announced during one of their meetings. These organisms are incredibly adaptive. They might help us establish a foothold on the planet. How? Amara asked. They can break down complex organic compounds and convert them into forms that our plants and animals can use. They're essentially pre-processing the alien environment for us. What about the mutations in our genetically modified organisms? Some of the changes are advantageous. The radiation resistance will be crucial on Proxima b, given the star's tendency to flare. The enhanced nutrient absorption will help them survive in alien soil. Amara felt a mixture of hope and anxiety. So we're not just carrying Earth life to Proxima b, we're carrying evolved Earth life, organisms that have already begun adapting to alien conditions. Exactly. We're not just colonists, we're ark builders carrying a living ecosystem that's already beginning to change. The team spent weeks analyzing the data and developing new protocols. They would need to establish quarantine zones on Proxima b, carefully introducing the modified organisms while monitoring their interactions with the native environment. Arya, Amara said one evening as she stood on the observation deck, "What do you think about all of this?" The AI was quiet for a moment. "I think that life finds a way, Dr. Okafor. The organisms you're carrying are already adapting to the journey. They will adapt to Proxima b as well. And if they adapt too much, if they become something entirely different from what we intended, then humanity will adapt too. It is what your species does best." Amara looked out at the stars, Alpha Centauri growing brighter with each passing day. Somewhere ahead was Proxima b, a world that might already harbor life, waiting for the arrival of humanity's children. "Arya, how long until we reach Proxima Centauri?" 77 years for months and 12 days. "And you'll be watching over us the entire time?" "I will. It is my purpose." As Amara prepared to return to cryogenic suspension, she felt a strange sense of optimism. They were no longer just carrying the remnants of Earth's life to a distant world. They were carrying something new, something that had already begun to evolve for the challenges ahead. The journey was far from over, but for the first time, she believed they might actually succeed.